Okay, first of all, a big thank you to everyone for helping me to get to 1K. I'm not really one for overdone displays of gratitude, but yeah, I definitely appreciate everything you guys have done for me. So I'm going to be trying to get up some new tiers pretty soon, hopefully just to add some variety to this channel, and I'm pretty much just going to alternate between different tiers if I want, depending on however I feel. So I'm going to lead off with Rotom, and he's going to lead off with Gliscor, and I'm just going to go for a Hydro Pump, even though he has a Latias, which basically walls all of my attacks. And he actually has a very solidly constructed team. He has basically a counter to every single one of my team members, so I'm not really going to be able to sweep with any one individual Pokemon, at least until I've removed something. So I'm going to go into my Tyranitar. I'm running a lot of special defense on this set, even more than the average, so I'm able to take even boosted special attacks with ease from Latias. So he's going to go for a Calm Mind, and I don't have Pursuit on this set, although I kind of wish I had it sometimes against Latias, and especially Specs Latios. So he's going to go for a Recover, maybe predicting that, and I just went for Stealth Rock because I thought he might switch out, not really sure though. So he's going to take the Sandstorm damage, which of course is going to nullify his Leftovers recovery, and he's going to set up a second Calm Mind, not really sure why, because I'm just going to go for a Crunch right here. Even though I'm not running any attack EVs, it's still going to do a lot of damage. I actually am going to get an unfortunate crit here, and I'm not exactly sure how much it would have done otherwise, although I know according to damage calculations, it usually comes pretty close to KOing him, especially with Sandstorm damage. So he's going to go into his Terrakion now. Very threatening Pokemon, although I'm not really sure why it's not that high in usage. I think it's only around 34 as far as standard OU usage goes. So I'm going to go into my Gliscor, which is going to be able to wall it pretty well. He actually has a Swords Dance set, though, which is actually going to be able to do a lot with Stone Edge, especially since he has Life Orb. So he's going to go into his own Gliscor now, and I just kind of panicked at this point and went for an Earthquake, even though now that I look back, it was pretty likely that he would have switched out. So he's going to go into his own Gliscor, but I'm going to be able to switch back to Rotom now. Plus, since I've eliminated his Latias, I'm going to have a lot easier of a time sweeping with Rotom. As long as I keep Rotom alive, I'm actually going to be able to keep him under pressure the entire time, because he basically only has one Water Resist left, which is his own Rotom, and since that's not really going to be able to take Stab 180 BP Hydro Pumps that well, I'm going to be able to do a lot of damage even to that, especially with Sandstorm and Stealth Rock factored in. So he's going to switch into the Hydro Pump. No Leftovers, so it's probably going to be a choice variant. I'm assuming Scarf or maybe Specs. So he doesn't have Leftovers recovery, which it means it's going to be a little bit easier to KO. And he does go for a Volt Switch, and since Choiced Rotom usually carries Volt Switch, I just stay in and predict that and go for a second Hydro Pump because I know that he doesn't have any more water resists. So I actually hit his Magnezone because he was trying to switch in on a predicted Thunderbolt, I guess. And it doesn't quite KO him, but it does a lot of damage, and I do outspeed. So I'm just going to finish him off with a Hidden Power Fire at this point. Not Scarfed, so I know that I'm going to be able to outspeed him. And this is also pretty good because now that I've gotten rid of his Magnezone, I don't really have to worry about it trapping my Scizor. So you can see it kind of here that every time you eliminate one of your opponent's Pokemon, it can sometimes be crucial because it makes one of your own Pokemon a lot more valuable because it becomes more threatening to the opposing team. So he's going to switch in his Terrakion again, and I'm just going to go into Gliscor. Even if he sets up an ST, I'm able to live at least one attack. So he decided to go for a close combat right away this time, and of course I'm going to be able to take that pretty well. And he is going to get the Life Orb recoil, which confirmed that it was a sweeper set, although that's pretty common on the Swords Dance sets. So he's going to go into his Gliscor, and I actually predict the switch this time and go for an Ice Fang. It's not going to do too much damage, even though it's quite effective on Gliscor, because Gliscor of course has a ton of physical bulk as well as Poison Heal recovery. But I'm actually going to switch out at this point again because I'm not really going to be able to do that much unless I get an SD on Gliscor beforehand. So he's actually going to set up a Swords Dance, but it's not really that big of a problem because he's probably running Earthquake and Ice Fang because those are the two standard moves, and Rotom already deals with Gliscor pretty well. Even with boosted Ice Fangs, he's not going to be able to do that much damage. And I'm actually going to predict the switch again to go to his Rotom. So instead of for a Hydro Pump, I go for a Thunderbolt instead, and that's going to do a lot of damage to his Rotom because it's neutral, of course, but it is at 135 base power approximately with Stab. So I do get an unfortunate pair of hacks on him, which kind of matters because Sandstorm doesn't quite KO him, but the best thing he could have done is get off his own Thunder attack, Electric attack, or maybe go for a Trick. So it probably wouldn't have affected the outcome of the match, although he would have been able to get off at least one attack most likely. So I'm just going to stay in and finish him off with a Thunderbolt. Not really any point in going for a Hydro Pump because I basically need a 100% accurate move. So I'm going to switch back into Gliscor at this point. Basically walls Terrakion all day unless he gets a Stone Edge boosted crit. And he actually goes for a close combat again. again. I'm not really sure why he didn't just go for a Stone Edge, because that would have done a lot to Rotom anyway. Probably would have KO'd, I think, and it definitely would have hurt Gliscor a lot more. So I'm actually going to set up a Swords Dance here, and he went for a Stone Edge, surprisingly, and I thought that he would definitely have switched out to his Gliscor, so I was hoping to set up an SD and then Ice Fang it on the switch. But since I thought he would fodder his Terrakion, I just decided to go for an Earthquake. Kind of a poor move on my part. I should have just gone for Ice Fang because he wouldn't have been able to do that much damage anyway. But just kind of a minor overlook on my part. So he's going to go for an Ice Fang, and his is unboosted, of course, so I'm able to take it pretty nicely. And I actually go for an Ice Fang but miss, and even though it has like over 90% accuracy. So he's going to go for a Swords Dance on his part, and I'm just going to Ice Fang again. Basically a Gliscor versus Gliscor Swords Dance and Ice Fang war over here. But I do have the Swords Dance on first, so I should be able to KO him. Doesn't quite KO him, but it gets really close to him being dead. So I'm just going to be able to finish him off with a second Ice Fang as long as I don't miss. He's going to go for his own Ice Fang. It also does a lot of damage, but it's not going to be able to KO me because, of course, I had almost max HP with the Poison Heal Recovery. So that's going to KO his Gliscor, which is pretty good because that means that it opens up an opportunity for my own Terrakion to come in and sweep the rest of his team. He only has Terrakion and his Tyranitar, which I'm not really sure why he hasn't revealed yet. So he's just going to go for a Stone Edge with Life Orb. That's actually going to be able to KO my Gliscor. So the best thing I can do right now is switch to Terrakion. Now that I've confirmed that he has Life Orb Recoil, I'm going to be able to KO the remaining Pokemon on his team. Basically clean through with Terrakion, because I actually am running a Scarf variant, which I use for revenge killing and late game sweeping. So this is going to be able to handle things pretty nicely. And of course his last Pokemon is Tyranitar, so I'm going to be able to KO that, of course, with a quad effective attack. Especially with Stab, it's going to do a ton of damage. Would have KO'd Tyranitar even if he had a Chocolate Berry, actually. So the game's pretty much going to wrap up here. I'm pretty lucky that I got all my predictions right, so that is going to end up wrapping up the game 5-0.